Tuesday tea time, taking time, as James says, from samsara. Well, we're diving into a different aspect of samsara as we take this time to sit together and pay homage to the Buddha and the Dhamma and the Sangha. Be grateful that we are in this human existence, in this lifetime, to be able to listen to the Dhamma, practice the teachings for ourselves. And we've got it so much easier than those times 2,600 years ago, before written language wrote anything down about the teachings. Now there's so much written language, you can look it up on Google and find everything 12 times over what it was you were looking up. But nothing really takes the place of being here in this moment and sitting, seeing for ourselves what we might know to be true of the Four Noble Truths, or the Eightfold Path that we've been exploring, the paramis, the factors of enlightenment, the hindrances. It all goes around as we're sitting. Studying together and practicing for the benefit of all beings. Recognizing suffering that arises in ourselves, and also recognizing suffering that's caused by biases and prejudices and systems of power and privilege and oppression based on race, sex, class, age, ethnicity, religion, national origin, abilities, sexual orientations, gender identities. We aspire to do no harm and to dismantle barriers that cause separation and suffering. Understanding that our liberation is interconnected with the liberation of all. Being grateful for those indigenous peoples whose lands we inhabit. Acknowledging the indigenous communities where we are, for the past and the present and the future. Grateful for their stewardship and the benefit that we continue to receive. And to those Asian ancestors of the Buddhist lineages, who brought Buddhism to the West from East Asia. So many different countries: China, Sri Lanka, Japan, Korea, Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam. Great appreciation for our ancestors, giving us this opportunity to understand the teachings directly. Starting in the way that works best for you. Maybe a deep breath or two, settling into the noble posture. Whether it's sitting or maybe standing, maybe walking, sometimes lying down. We strive to be awake and aware in this moment. Whether we concentrate on a single object, like that of the breath at the nostrils, or at the touch point of the seat on the cushion, or the breath at the belly. And holding ourselves gently and kindly. So many things go on just in this day before we get ourselves here, or things that go on in our family units or with friends or colleagues. It's a messy world we live in. And we try for this time period to keep it simple. Collecting our attention at the senses and letting it begin attending to just the breath or just the touch point. To, in a relaxed and easeful way, be attentive to whatever's happening. There might be coolness or warmth at the nostrils, or there may be pressure and lack of pressure at the belly as the diaphragm rises and falls. And we're present to see this directly, not to tell ourselves a story about what's happening, but to be there, to really know this is what's happening right now. It allows the attention to begin to concentrate. We may notice the mind wandering, keeping us busy with various thought forms. And we can just wake up at that moment. We might notice that there's a feeling tone to it, whether it was pleasant or not pleasant, or maybe we weren't really sure. And at that point, we can just keep going with what is happening in the mind and heart right now, the next thing that comes into our awareness. Or we can return to that breath as the single point of our attention. As we develop a single pointed attention, oftentimes it allows the hindrances to not come into the mind stream as easily, because we keep returning again and again to that single place of the breath at the nostrils, or the breath at the belly, or the touch point, or another touch point in the body where the arms might lean against the body, or the lips touch, or the eyelids touch. And it is useful to notice sometimes as we're attending to what's happening in the heart and in the mind, mindfulness of the mind, perhaps, we can notice when there is actually freedom in the mind from greed or hatred or delusion. We may notice our breath change. Maybe it becomes a lot more subtle. Sometimes that concentrated energy of being on a single object opens up to a more spacious area, like the whole body breathing. one mindful moment at a time. Conditions coming together. Mindfulness observing, awareness present. We see how long this object lasts. Whether it's a tension at the breath, or a sensation that comes into the body, or a thought that comes into the mind. The conditions fall apart. Awareness disappears, and mindfulness and awareness come together again in the next moment that we are aware. And we have this power of the continuity of mindfulness that begins to collect. And when our mindfulness is directed toward the attention being stable on a single object, it can lead to deepening of calm and tranquility. As the body relaxes, the mind can become more calm with that concentrated energy. And we can have increasing clarity of the three characteristics of impermanence and unsatisfactoriness and selflessness. If we stick with the single object of the breath, perhaps, or whatever we're using as the single object, sometimes those deepening states can become what are called meditative absorptions. A practice that's undistracted and has a steadiness of mind that makes it possible for wisdom to arise. Wisdom sees clearly those three characteristics. And this concentration can actually make the mind pliable. And pervade it with a kind of happiness that we don't find in sense pleasures. And as we stay relaxed yet vigilant with enough energy to be interested in seeing where mindfulness and awareness go, we have this more refined power of concentration that gets developed that can really explore the nature of phenomenon, the mind, the body, our internal world, our external world. Ultimately, this concentration has an ability to uproot the defilements, bringing the end of suffering. And so we begin again and again and again, starting where we are. If we get lost or can't remember quite what we're doing, or wake up out of a moment of noticing we've been lost in thought, or fell prey to the hindrances of sleepiness or anxiety or restlessness or doubt, we can just begin right where we are, or begin again with that attention on the single object, connecting with the breath or the touch point, holding ourselves kindly, and really knowing that it's a natural process. We're just part of nature. The aggregates that hold us together for a person in this relative world are conditions that come together and fall apart over and over again. But we stay with this simple activity. Mindfulness present, awareness present, the development of wisdom. development of concentration with ease. Not trying too hard, just enough. We may begin to notice that the concentration that arises in meditation helps us focus on what we've been talking about, the mental objects that arise, and that concentration can see through superficial appearances to a really clear perception of their impermanence and of their dissatisfactory nature. And that sense that there's no permanent sense of self or identity. And so we keep training the mind. And sometimes we may be aware when we ask ourselves what's happening in the heart and mind right now. We may be aware that there is wholesome concentration happening, that there are skillful factors happening. Mindfulness is present, kindness is present, energy is present. Or we notice there's a lack of tension, a lack of worry, a lack of strain, a lack of ill will. Encouraging these wholesome states of mind. And when unwholesome states arise, we can bring mindful awareness to seeing them. But we don't need to spend a lot of time concentrating on the grievances that we have or other unwholesome thoughts that arise. Bringing mindful awareness is wholesome. Wholesome insight meditation. By allowing the hindrances to fall away. As we do this training of the heart and the mind in mindfulness and concentration, we can feel happy. About wherever we are. it can bring about energy and some stability, some confidence in the practice. What is the attitude of the mind right now? And as we hold ourselves kindly in this process of taming and training our hearts and minds to see clearly whatever's arising, to see that it passes, arising and passing away. May we hold ourselves and others in kindness and compassion. May we let this kindness flow to other beings. A friend, a benefactor.
Portable heater is on.
Wishing in gladness that they be free from harm, safe and protected, and have ease. Letting a sense of ease and well-being that we can generate around our heart center. Include ourselves if we can. May I have ease. May I be free from harm. May I take care of myself happily. May I have compassion for myself when things are challenging. May this sense of kindness and well-being include others that we don't know. A neutral person, neutral people. May we have a sense of openness to allow into our heart space all beings, whether known or unknown, seen or unseen, enlightened or unenlightened, in sorrow or in joy. May all beings be free from harm, know happiness, have ease. May all beings be free from harm, safe and protected. Above, below, around, and everywhere, all beings that fly and walk and swim and crawl, beings known and unknown. May all beings be free and happy. Anicca vata sankara, uparavaya domino, upakita va merchanti, te sam vipasamo, Sukho. All conditioned things are subject to impermanence. They arise and pass away. Seeing this clearly with mindfulness is the greatest happiness, which is peace. And may the goodness of your practice be of benefit to you and to all beings. Thank you for your practice.